You think 1960s and 70s ground beef recipes were about convenience and flavor? Think again. Between 1964 and 1979, ground beef recipes were strategic operations.
Spread over biscuit dough, not quite to the edge.
Your grandmother made Salisbury steak every Monday in 1972, 2 pounds of ground beef. Betty Crocker's mushroom gravy from canned soup. Family reputation balanced on whether shaped hamburger patties passed for real steak or you admitted poverty. Your grandmother made Salisbury steak every Monday in 1972. 2 pounds of ground beef she paid $1.18 for at the A&P, mixed with breadcrumbs from Saturday's dried white bread, shaped into 6 oval patties on waxed paper spread across the yellow Formica counter. Pan-fried in the cast-iron skillet until browned. Then smothered in mushroom gravy she made from 1 can, Campbell's Golden Mushroom Soup, thinned with half a cup of milk from the glass bottle. The Salisbury steak emerged browned and gravy-covered, each oval patty fork tender beneath the mushroom sauce, feeding 6 for $2.45, equivalent to $18 today. It proved you could serve steak when steak was ground beef shaped into ovals, that you called it Salisbury instead of hamburger patties because Salisbury sounded elegant and hamburger sounded cheap, because Monday night dinner guests judged whether you could afford real steak or admitted you shaped hamburger. Salisbury steak disappeared when TV dinners made it cafeteria joke food instead of Monday solution, when Salisbury became punchline instead of strategic naming. The meal that once proved you could fake steak through shaping became something people mock, and grandmothers who shaped patties every Monday for 20 years stayed silent, pretending they always bought real steaks when real steaks cost triple what ground beef cost. Beef stroganoff every Friday in 1975. 2 pounds of ground beef she paid $1.67 for, browned with 1 chopped onion in the electric skillet on the avocado countertop, mixed with 1 can Campbell's cream of mushroom soup and 1 cup Daisy sour cream, simmered for 20 minutes while she boiled American Beauty wide egg noodles in the Revere Ware stockpot and set the table with the wedding china. The beef stroganoff emerged creamy and rich, the ground beef coated in mushroom sour cream sauce, served over egg noodles for 6 people at $3.12, equivalent to $17 today. It proved you could serve continental cuisine when continental meant canned soup and sour cream, that you knew stroganoff when stroganoff was ground beef instead of sirloin strips, when knowing meant following recipes that used hamburger you could afford instead of steak you couldn't. Your grandmother made stuffed bell peppers every Wednesday in 1968. 6 large green bell peppers she paid $0.89 for, tops cut off and seeds removed, filled with her mixture: 1 pound ground beef, browned with rice from the Minute Rice box, 1 can Hunt's tomato sauce, 1 teaspoon salt, arranged upright in the Corningware baking dish, baked at 350 degrees for 45 minutes while she folded laundry and dusted the living room furniture. The stuffed peppers emerged tender and tomato-sauced, the beef rice filling cooked through, feeding 6 for $2.67, equivalent to $25 today. It proved you could serve elegant individual portions, that you knew presentation when presentation meant standing peppers upright in rows like soldiers, when Wednesday dinner proved you could make hamburger look fancy through strategic vegetable wrapping. Stuffed bell peppers disappeared when bell peppers became salad ingredients instead of edible bowls, when stuffed became trendy appetizers instead of Wednesday dinners. The meal that once proved presentation skill became retro, something people serve at potlucks, ironically, and women who stuffed peppers every Wednesday stayed silent about the Minute Rice filling, pretending they always used wild rice when wild rice wasn't invented until restaurants told them it existed. Your mother made American chop suey every Tuesday in 1973. 1 pound ground beef she paid $0.98 for, browned with 1 chopped onion and 1 chopped green pepper in the Lodge cast iron skillet, mixed with 1 pound cooked elbow macaroni from the American Beauty box, stirred with 2 cans Hunt's tomato sauce and 1 teaspoon oregano from the spice rack, baked covered for 30 minutes while she vacuumed the living room. The American chop suey emerged bubbling and tomato red, the macaroni soft and beef-studded, feeding 6 for $2.34, equivalent to $16 today. It proved you could serve ethnic food when ethnic meant tomato sauce and calling it chop suey, that you knew Chinese cuisine when Chinese was hamburger and macaroni you called Asian, because calling it hamburger macaroni meant admitting you didn't know what real chop suey was. American chop suey disappeared when real Chinese takeout replaced fake Chinese casseroles, when American chop suey became regional joke food New Englanders defend while everyone else calls it goulash. The meal that once proved cultural awareness became geographic embarrassment, something people outside New England mock, and women who made it every Tuesday stayed silent about calling macaroni and beef Chinese when Chinese was whatever made Tuesday dinner sound interesting. Your grandmother made Spanish rice every Thursday in 1970. 1 pound ground beef she paid $0.89 for, browned in the electric skillet, mixed with 2 cups, minute rice, 1 can Rotel tomatoes with green chilies, 1 cup water, covered and simmered for 15 minutes while she wiped down the Formica counters and sorted the mail on the kitchen table. The Spanish rice emerged fluffy and tomato-flecked, the rice cooked through with beef throughout, feeding 5 for $1.89, equivalent to $15 today. It proved you could cook ethnic cuisine in 15 minutes, that you knew Spanish food when Spanish meant Rotel can, and minute rice when Thursday skillet dinners proved efficiency mattered more than authenticity when authenticity took hours you didn't have. Spanish rice disappeared when Spanish became politically incorrect and ethnic food became authentic instead of canned tomato shortcuts. Food critics renamed it Mexican rice and charged $8.99 as a side dish, while women who made it for $1.89 as Thursday's main course stayed silent about the minute rice and Rotel base, pretending they always cooked rice for 45 minutes, when 45 minutes meant missing Jeopardy and folding laundry late. Your mother made Johnny Marzetti every Sunday in 1974, 1.5 pounds ground beef she paid $1.45 for, browned with 1 chopped onion and 1 chopped green pepper, mixed with 1 pound cooked egg noodles from the American Beauty bag, layered in the Pyrex 9X13 with 2 cans Campbell's tomato soup and 2 cups shredded Kraft cheddar from the 8-ounce brick, topped with crushed Ritz crackers, baked at 350 degrees for 35 minutes while she read the Sunday newspaper. The Johnny Marzetti emerged bubbling and cheese-topped, the noodles soft beneath the cracker crust, feeding 8 for $3.89, equivalent to $23 today. It proved you knew regional specialties when regional meant Ohio casserole, named after a Columbus restaurant owner, that you served Johnny Marzetti when Marzetti made ground beef sound Italian instead of Midwestern, when Sunday dinner required names that sounded sophisticated even if the recipe was hamburger, noodles, and Campbell's soup. Johnny Marzetti disappeared when people outside Ohio stopped knowing what Marzetti was, when regional recipes became regional jokes instead of Sunday staples. The casserole that once proved Ohio pride became that weird casserole, something Ohioans defend at potlucks while everyone else serves lasagna, and women who made Johnny Marzetti every Sunday stayed silent about the Campbell's tomato soup base, pretending they always made red sauce from scratch. Your grandmother made shipwreck casserole every Monday in 1969. 1 pound ground beef she layered raw in the bottom of the Corningware baking dish, topped with 1 sliced onion, 1 layer of raw rice from the Minute rice box, 1 layer of canned kidney beans drained, 1 can Campbell's tomato soup spread across the top, covered with foil, baked at 350 degrees for 90 minutes while she ironed Monday's clothes and listened to the transistor radio. The shipwreck casserole emerged layered and steaming, each ingredient cooked through in its designated layer, feeding 6 for $2.12, equivalent to $20 today. It proved you could layer raw ingredients and walk away, that you knew dump and bake when dump and bake meant trusting casseroles cooked themselves, when Monday wash day demanded recipes you assembled in 5 minutes before hanging sheets on clotheslines. Shipwreck casserole disappeared when dump and bake became Pinterest mockery instead of Monday necessity, when layering raw ingredients became weird instead of strategic. The casserole that once proved wash day efficiency became forgotten regional food, something people ask, "What's shipwreck?" about at potlucks. And women who made it every Monday stayed silent about layering raw hamburger. Your mother made poor man's steak every Friday in 1976. 2 pounds ground beef she paid $1.89 for, mixed with 1 cup crushed saltine crackers, 1 cup milk, shaped into a rectangle on waxed paper, refrigerated for 2 hours, sliced into steak portions, dredged in flour, fried in the cast-iron skillet until browned, then baked in cream of mushroom gravy at 325 degrees for 1 hour while she cleaned the Friday mess. The poor man's steak emerged tender and gravy-covered, each slice holding together like real steak, feeding 6 for $2.98, equivalent to $15 today. It proved you could fake steak completely, that you shaped, chilled, and sliced hamburger into steak portions when steak portions proved you could afford Friday dinner that looked expensive, even when expensive meant $1.89 of ground beef plus crackers. Poor man's steak disappeared when admitting you made poor man's anything became social shame instead of Depression-era pride, when shaped hamburger became gross instead of resourceful. The meal that once proved kitchen ingenuity became something people deny making, and grandmothers who shaped hamburger cracker loaves into steak slices every Friday stayed silent about the poverty the name admitted, pretending poverty never touched their families when poverty shaped every Friday dinner. Your grandmother made sloppy joes every Saturday in 1971. 1.5 pounds ground beef she paid $1.23 for, browned with 1 chopped onion, mixed with 1 bottle Heinz ketchup, 2 tablespoons brown sugar, 1 tablespoon vinegar, 1 teaspoon mustard from the French's jar, simmered for 20 minutes while she set out Sunbeam hamburger buns on the kitchen counter and opened a bag of Lay's potato chips. The sloppy joes emerged saucy and ketchup-sweet, served in hamburger buns that soaked through, feeding 6 for $2.67, equivalent to $18 today. It proved you could make Saturday casual, that you served messy sandwiches when messy meant kids could eat without forks, when Saturday night meant relaxing dinner rules because Sunday's formal dinner was coming tomorrow. Sloppy joes disappeared when Manwich cans replaced homemade sauce, and Sloppy Joe became elementary school cafeteria food instead of Saturday dinner. The meal that once proved Saturday casual became children's food. Your mother made beef and noodle casserole every Wednesday in 1977. 1 pound ground beef she paid $1.34 for, browned and drained, mixed with 1 pound cooked egg noodles from the American Beauty bag, combined with 1 can Campbell's cream of mushroom soup, 1 cup sour cream, 1 cup cottage cheese, stirred together, topped with French's French-fried onions from the can, baked at 350 degrees for 30 minutes while she paid bills at the kitchen table. The beef and noodle casserole emerged bubbling and onion-topped, the noodles creamy beneath the crunchy topping, feeding 6 for $3.12, equivalent to $15 today. It proved you could combine 3 dairy products into one casserole, that you knew cream sauce when cream sauce was canned soup plus sour cream plus cottage cheese, when Wednesday casseroles proved resourcefulness through dairy multiplication. Beef and noodle casserole disappeared when cottage cheese in casseroles became dietary trend instead of Wednesday stretcher, when French fried onions became green bean casserole topping only. The meal that once proved dairy resourcefulness became forgotten, something people don't remember making, and women who stirred cottage cheese into every Wednesday casserole stayed silent about the dairy trick, pretending they always made bechamel when bechamel required knowing French cooking terms. These 5 ground beef recipes required layering raw ingredients, shaping hamburger into poor man's steak, and calling ketchup sugar sauce Sloppy Joe's. Survival engineering disguised as regional cooking when survival engineering meant feeding families on 2.12 casseroles while pretending casseroles had sophistication. Each recipe demanded shaping, layering, and naming that hid what you actually served, proving you could transform ground beef into meals with regional names when regional names made hamburger sound interesting. But the next 5 ground beef recipes required even more kitchen deception, more strategic ingredient hiding, more names that announced ethnicity you couldn't afford. Your grandmother made stuffed cabbage rolls every Sunday in 1970. 1 head green cabbage she paid 0.45 for, cored and steamed until leaves softened, filled with her mixture: 1 pound ground beef, 1 cup cooked minute rice, 1 egg, 1 teaspoon salt mixed in the Tupperware bowl, rolled tight, arranged in the Corningware 9x13, covered with 2 cans Hunt's tomato sauce, baked at 350 degrees for 90 minutes while the family attended church service. The stuffed cabbage rolls emerged tender and tomato-sauced, each roll holding together, feeding 8 for $2.78, equivalent to $26 today. It proved you could make ethnic food when ethnic meant following magazine recipes for Polish cuisine, that you rolled cabbage leaves when rolling proved patience and skill, when Sunday dinner guests judged whether your rolls held together or fell apart like failure. Stuffed cabbage rolls disappeared when ethnic food became restaurant orders instead of Sunday projects, when cabbage became coleslaw ingredient instead of edible wrapper. The meal that once proved ethnic cooking knowledge became old country food, something grandchildren refused to eat, and grandmothers who rolled cabbage every Sunday for 30 years stayed silent after hearing "that smells weird" enough times from grandchildren raised on Taco Bell. Your mother made hamburger goulash every Monday in 1974. 1 pound ground beef she paid $1.12 for, browned with 1 chopped onion, mixed with 1 pound cooked elbow macaroni from the cremette box, stirred with 2 cans Hunt's tomato sauce, 1 tablespoon Hungarian paprika from the McCormick spice rack, simmered in the Dutch oven for 20 minutes while she sorted Monday's laundry into piles on the basement floor. The hamburger goulash emerged thick and paprika red, the macaroni soft and beef-studded, feeding 5 for $2.34. Equivalent to $16 today. It proved you could cook Hungarian cuisine when Hungarian meant paprika from the grocery store, that you knew goulash when goulash was macaroni and hamburger you called ethnic, because calling it macaroni beef meant admitting you served the same ingredients different ways all week. Hamburger goulash disappeared when people stopped calling macaroni beef goulash, when regional naming became confused because half the country called it goulash and half called it American chop suey. The meal that once proved ethnic sophistication became nameless regional debate, something people argue about online, and women who made it every Monday stayed silent about what they called it, pretending names didn't matter when names determined whether Monday dinner sounded interesting or boring. Your grandmother made cheeseburger pie every Saturday in 1972. 1 pound ground beef she paid $0.98 for, browned and drained, mixed with 1 can Campbell's cheddar cheese soup, spread in an unbaked Pillsbury pie crust from the refrigerated tube, topped with Bisquick batter she mixed. 1 cup Bisquick, 1 cup milk, 2 eggs whisked together, baked at 400 degrees for 30 minutes until golden while she vacuumed and dusted Saturday morning. The cheeseburger pie emerged golden-topped and impossible, the Bisquick forming crust on top, while beef cheese filling baked beneath, feeding 6 for $2.67, equivalent to $18.9 today. It proved you knew impossible pies, that you understood Bisquick chemistry when Bisquick magically formed crust, when Saturday morning baking meant dump-and-bake recipes that cooked themselves while you cleaned house before weekend company arrived. Cheeseburger pie disappeared when Bisquick Impossible Pies became retro food blog content instead of Saturday solutions, when Impossible Pie became 1970s novelty instead of legitimate dinner. The meal that once proved Bisquick mastery became joke food, something people make ironically, and women who baked cheeseburger pie every Saturday stayed silent about trusting Bisquick to form crust, pretending they always made pie dough from scratch, when scratch meant one more bowl to wash on Saturday morning. Your mother made tater tot casserole every Thursday in 1978, 1.5 pounds ground beef she paid $1.89 for, browned and spread in the Pyrex 9-13, topped with 1 can Campbell's cream of mushroom soup spread directly from the can, 1 layer of frozen or Ida tater tots arranged in rows, sprinkled with 2 cups shredded Kraft cheddar, baked at 350 dig for 45 minutes while she folded laundry and watched Phil Donahue. The tater tot casserole emerged bubbling and golden, the tater tots crispy on top and soft beneath, feeding 6 for $3.89. Equivalent to $17 today. It proved you could layer frozen potatoes on top of hamburger, that you served tater tots when tots were dinner topping instead of kids' side dish, when Thursday convenience demanded recipes that used products straight from boxes and cans and freezer bags without apology. Tater tot casserole disappeared when it became Midwest joke food, and comfort food blogs made it ironic instead of practical, when tater tot casserole became punchline instead of Thursday solution. The meal that once proved frozen food efficiency became regional embarrassment, something people outside the Midwest mock, and women who made it every Thursday stayed silent about the Campbell's soup layer, pretending they never spread soup directly from the can. Your grandmother made beef stroganoff, meatballs every Friday in 1968. 1.5 pounds ground beef she paid $1.23 for, mixed with breadcrumbs and 1 egg, shaped into 24 meatballs on waxed paper, browned in the Lodge cast-iron skillet, simmered in her stroganoff sauce, 1 can Campbell's cream of mushroom soup, 1 cup Daisy sour cream, 1/4 cup milk, for 20 minutes while she boiled egg noodles and made tossed salad with iceberg lettuce. The beef stroganoff meatballs emerged tender and cream-sauced, each meatball coated in mushroom sour cream gravy, served over egg noodles for 8 people at $3.45, equivalent to $32 today. It proved you could make continental cuisine with meatballs, that you knew stroganoff when stroganoff was hamburger meatballs instead of beef strips, when Friday dinner proved you could serve Russian cuisine through Campbell's soup and Daisy sour cream multiplication. Beef stroganoff. Meatballs disappeared when authentic stroganoff required beef strips and fresh mushrooms, when meatball stroganoff became not real stroganoff instead of Friday shortcut. These 5 ground beef recipes required rolling cabbage leaves, trusting Bisquick to form pie crust, and topping hamburger with frozen tater tots. Final stage convenience techniques disguised as cooking, when convenience meant using products that cooked themselves while you folded laundry and watched television. Each recipe proved you could layer, roll, and shape ground beef into meals with ethnic names, proving sophistication through Hungarian paprika and Russian sour cream when sophistication was Campbell's soup you called continental. But the next 5 ground beef recipes demanded ultimate convenience, maximum stretching, minimum labor through skillet cooking, and one-pot efficiency. Your mother made skillet beef supper every Wednesday in 1975, 1 pound ground beef she paid $1.23 for, browned in the electric skillet with 1 chopped onion, stirred with 1 can, whole kernel, corn drained, 1 can diced tomatoes undrained, 2 cups minute rice, 2 cups water, covered and simmered for 15 minutes while she set the table and poured iced tea from the Tupperware pitcher into aluminum tumblers. The skillet beef supper emerged steaming and one-pot complete, the rice cooked through with vegetables throughout, feeding 5 for $2.45. Equivalent to $13 today. It proved you could cook complete dinner in 1 skillet, that you mastered one-pot meals when 1 pot meant fewer dishes to wash after dinner. When Wednesday convenience demanded recipes, you cooked start to finish in 15 minutes on the stovetop without turning on the oven. Skillet beef supper disappeared when skillet meals became meal kit subscriptions instead of minute rice shortcuts, when one-pot cooking became trendy instead of necessity. The meal that once proved weeknight efficiency became forgotten, something people don't remember calling supper, and women who made skillet dinners every Wednesday stayed silent about the minute rice base. Your grandmother made mock filet mignon every special Sunday in 1966. 2 pounds ground beef she paid $1.12 for, mixed with 1 package Lipton onion soup mix, shaped into 8 thick patties, wrapped each with 1 strip of bacon from the Oscar Mayer package, secured with toothpicks, broiled for 6 minutes per side, while she arranged the dining room table with the wedding china and lit candles in the silver candlesticks. The mock filet mignon emerged browned and bacon-wrapped, each patty shaped like miniature filet, feeding 8 for $3.67, equivalent to $34 today. It proved you could fake filet mignon completely, that you wrapped hamburger in bacon and called it mock filet, when mock made shaped ground beef sound sophisticated, when special Sunday dinners demanded meat that looked expensive, even if expensive was hamburger plus soup mix plus bacon. Mock filet mignon disappeared when mock became deceptive instead of aspirational. Your mother made beef and macaroni skillet every Monday in 1977, 1 pound ground beef she paid $1.45 for, browned with 1 chopped onion in the lodge, cast iron skillet, stirred with 2 cups elbow macaroni uncooked, 1 can Campbell's tomato soup, 2 soup cans water, covered and simmered for 20 minutes while she started Monday's laundry and wiped down the kitchen counters with the dish rag. The beef and macaroni skillet emerged thick and tomato-sauced, the macaroni cooked directly in the meat mixture, feeding 5 for $2.34, equivalent to $12 today. It proved you could cook pasta in the meat pan, that you knew 1 skillet technique when technique meant cooking macaroni directly in hamburger without boiling separate water, when Monday wash day demanded recipes with minimal dishes and maximum efficiency. Beef and macaroni skillet disappeared when cooking pasta properly required boiling water separately, when skillet pasta became mushy instead of efficient. The meal that once proved Monday efficiency became forgotten technique, something people don't know you could cook pasta in meat sauce directly, and women who made it every Monday stayed silent about cooking macaroni in soup water, pretending they always boiled pasta separately when separately meant 1 more pot to scrub. Your grandmother made tamale pie every Saturday in 1969, 1.5 pounds ground beef she paid $1.23 for, browned with 1 chopped onion and 1 can whole kernel corn drained, mixed with 1 can diced tomatoes, 1 tablespoon chili powder from the spice rack, spread in the Pyrex 9x13, topped with cornmeal batter she mixed, 1 cup cornmeal, 1 cup milk, 1 egg, 1 teaspoon baking powder, baked at 375 degrees for 35 minutes while she vacuumed. The tamale pie emerged golden-topped and bubbling, the cornbread crust baked over Mexican spiced beef, feeding 8 for $2.89, equivalent to $27 today. It proved you could make Mexican food when Mexican meant chili powder and cornmeal topping, that you knew tamale pie when tamale was cornbread. Over hamburger you called Mexican, because Mexican made Saturday night sound exotic instead of hamburger corn again. Tamale pie disappeared when real Mexican food replaced Americanized casseroles, when tamale pie became 1960s relic instead of Saturday staple. The meal that once proved Mexican cooking knowledge became something people don't recognize, something with a name that sounds Mexican but isn't. And women who made tamale pie every Saturday stayed silent about calling cornbread-topped hamburger Mexican when Mexican was whatever made Saturday interesting. Your mother made slumgullion every Tuesday in 1974, 1 pound ground beef she paid $1.12 for, browned with 1 chopped onion, mixed with 1 can diced tomatoes, 1 can whole kernel corn, both undrained, 1 cup elbow macaroni uncooked, 2 cups water, simmered covered for 25 minutes, while she folded Tuesday's laundry from the dryer and sorted socks into pairs on the kitchen table. The slumgullion emerged thick and tomato corn studded, the macaroni cooked through in the vegetable liquid, feeding 5 for $2.23, equivalent to $15 today. It proved you knew regional names when regional meant Great Depression recipes your mother-in-law taught you, that you made slumgullion when slumgullion was hamburger macaroni vegetables you called by its Depression name, because the name admitted what it was. Poverty food that stretched 1 pound of meat across 5 people. Slumgullion disappeared when people stopped knowing what slumgullion was, when Depression-era names became embarrassing instead of historic. The meal became nameless, something people make but call hamburger stuff instead of slumgullion. These 5 ground beef recipes required wrapping hamburger in bacon, cooking macaroni directly in meat sauce, and calling hamburger corn casserole tamale pie. Desperate economy disguised as regional cuisine when economy meant feeding families on $2.23, while pretending $2.23 meals had sophistication through Mexican names and one skillet technique. Each recipe demanded shaping, naming, and cooking that proved you could make ground beef interesting through strategic ingredient combination when combination was all you could afford. But the final 5 ground beef recipes required admitting what you actually served, hamburger stretched across every meal with honesty. Your grandmother made chili mac every Friday in 1973, 1 pound ground beef she paid $1.12 for, browned with 1 chopped onion, mixed with 1 can Brooks chili beans undrained, 1 cup elbow macaroni cooked and drained, 1 cup shredded Kraft cheddar, stirred together in the saucepan and heated through while she sliced iceberg lettuce for salad and set out saltine crackers on the table. The chili mac emerged thick and bean-studded, the macaroni mixed throughout the chili cheese mixture, feeding 5 for $2.45, equivalent to $16 today. It proved you could combine chili and macaroni when combining meant stretching 1 can of chili across 5 people. That you made chili mac when mac meant adding pasta to make chili fill more bowls, when Friday budget demanded stretching techniques through starch multiplication. Chili mac disappeared when chili became serious competition food and macaroni became pasta. You didn't add to chili when chili mac became children's food instead of Friday dinner. The meal that once proved stretching technique became cafeteria food, something adults won't admit ordering, and grandmothers who stirred macaroni into chili every Friday stayed silent about the stretching. Your mother made hamburger soup every Monday in 1976. 1 pound ground beef she paid $1.34 for, browned and not drained, covered with 6 cups water, 1 can diced tomatoes, 1 can whole kernel corn, 1 can green beans, all undrained, 2 cups diced potatoes from the 10-pound sack, simmered for 45 minutes while she started Monday's laundry and ironed Tuesday's work shirts on the ironing board in the kitchen. The hamburger soup emerged vegetable-filled and beefy, the vegetables soft in tomato broth, feeding 6 for $2.67, equivalent to $14 today. It proved you could make soup when soup was hamburger plus every canned vegetable in the pantry, that you knew soup making when soup making meant opening cans and adding water. When Monday soup proved resourcefulness through pantry combination instead of recipes you followed. Hamburger soup disappeared when soup required stock you simmered for hours, when hamburger soup became vegetable soup with beef instead of legitimate recipe name. The meal that once proved Monday efficiency became nameless. Something people make but don't call hamburger soup because hamburger soup sounds too simple, and women who made it every Monday stayed silent about the name, pretending they always made vegetable soup when vegetable soup was hamburger plus canned vegetables plus water. Your grandmother made beef and rice stuffed tomatoes every Thursday in 1967. 6 large beefsteak tomatoes she paid $1.12 for, tops sliced off and insides scooped out, filled with her mixture. 1 pound ground beef browned, 1 cup cooked minute rice, the scooped tomato pulp chopped, 1 teaspoon oregano from the spice rack, arranged in the Corningware baking dish, baked at 350 degrees for 35 minutes while she dusted furniture and swept the kitchen linoleum. The stuffed tomatoes emerged soft and savory, each tomato holding its beef rice filling, feeding 6 for $2.89, equivalent to $27 today. It proved you could serve individual portions in edible containers, that you knew presentation when presentation meant serving dinner in vegetables. Stuffed tomatoes disappeared when tomatoes became salad ingredients instead of edible serving bowls, when stuffing vegetables became competition food, show techniques instead of Thursday solutions. The meal that once proved presentation skill became forgotten, something people don't remember making, and women who stuffed tomatoes every Thursday stayed silent about the minute rice filling, pretending they never hollowed out vegetables to make hamburger look fancy. Your mother made green pepper steak every Wednesday in 1978. 1.5 pounds ground beef she paid $1.78 for, browned and broken into small pieces, stirred with 2 sliced green bell peppers, 1 sliced onion, 2 tablespoons soy sauce from the Kikkoman bottle, 1 teaspoon ginger from the spice rack, simmered for 15 minutes, served over minute rice while she set out chopsticks and tried to make Wednesday feel Asian. The green pepper steak emerged soy sauce, dark and pepper-studded, the ground beef mixed throughout the vegetables, feeding 6 for $2.89, equivalent to $13 today. It proved you could make Chinese food when Chinese meant soy sauce and calling hamburger pepper steak, that you knew Chinese cuisine when Chinese was ground beef you cooked with vegetables and soy sauce, when Wednesday Asian night meant faking ethnic food through strategic sauce addition. Green pepper steak disappeared when real Chinese takeout replaced fake Chinese ground beef, when pepper steak required beef strips instead of hamburger. Corned beef hash-style ground beef every Saturday morning for brunch in 1970. 1 pound ground beef she paid $0.98 for, browned with 2 cups, diced cooked potatoes from Thursday's leftovers, 1 chopped onion, seasoned with salt and pepper, fried in the cast-iron skillet until crusty on the bottom, served with fried eggs on top and white toast from the toaster while she poured coffee from the percolator. The hash emerged crispy-bottomed and potato-studded, the fried eggs broken over each serving, feeding 4 for $2.12, equivalent to $20 today. It proved you could fake corned beef hash when corned beef cost triple what hamburger cost. The meal that once proved breakfast resourcefulness became forgotten, something people don't remember making with hamburger. And women who fried hamburger potato hash every Saturday stayed silent about calling it corned beef style, pretending they always bought canned hash, when canned hash was easier than admitting you faked it.